Hi, Stephen. This is Sister McConkey. I thought I'd just make you a video to maybe go over a few things that might be helpful to you. And then we could talk afterwards if you still have questions, but I thought it might be easier to have some visuals. At least for me, it's always easier to kind of see something and helps me to understand a little bit better. So first of all, don't worry about bringing your images from Flickr back into Lightroom. They're already in Lightroom, so you don't need to do that. You could delete them from Flickr or replace them with your new images if you fix them up, but you don't need to get them back out of Flickr. They're already here, so if you just go into your Lightroom and go into your library, you can go over here on the left-hand side and it says folders, and it will show you the different folders. And if you hover over them, it will show you kind of a representative image, or the very first image actually that's in each of the folders, so you can see which folder you want to get. So this is the image I want to work on, but also show you if you have an image like this that comes up in your library, you just need to click down here on the bottom on the left hand side on the grid, and it will bring up everything that's in that folder. So anyway, if you have the folder here and you want to get one image up, you're just going to double click on it and bring it up. So then once I have that up, I want to bring it into the develop. And then when I develop it, I'm going to start with black and white. You can see on this image, it's got the blue here. So it's showing me that I'm losing details in my shadows and in my black. That's what the blue is telling me. So how I can fix that is I'm going to go up here into my histogram. It's on the top right-hand corner. And on this side is your blacks or your shadows. And this is your whites or your highlights. So in black and white in particular, we want to make sure we have details in our blacks and details in our whites. So we're going to take this little thing here. If you hover over, I get a slider bar, and I'm going to move it. Let's see, is it moving? I'm going to move it until those disappear. So right there, they disappear and they're gone. So I've got that fixed. The next thing I want to do is work on my exposure. So right here, if I go into here and say exposure, it'll change the exposure for my entire image. So I like to bring it up a little bit, but I don't want to go too much because if I do, I'm going to get rid of the dramatic sky. So I'm going to just go maybe 15 right there and just brighten it up a tiny bit. Oh, and one other step I forgot. I'm going to go in here and crop. On this image, you can see that I didn't have my camera up quite high enough, and I got the apartment building that's kind of across the street and through the block from us, in the bottom left-hand corner there. So I'm going to take my crop, and I want to kind of constrain my image, and I'm going to just move that up to get rid of that. And I can also come in here and hover over the corner and get the little bars that help me rotate, and if I click on that, it'll bring up a grid so I can straighten it because it seems just maybe a little bit crooked. I think that might make it work a little better, maybe. All right, okay, so the next thing I want to do is go over some of these tools here at the top for you. So this one is your spot removal tool. So if you have dirt on your sensor, sometimes you will get some spots on your image, particularly in the sky is where you're going to notice them. So you can use the spot removal tool to get rid of them. You could also, like if I thought, oh, I really don't want this leaves on the tree right there. I could go in and get rid of those, except for, oh, it's recopied it there. That I don't want. We're going to go back. Let's see, maybe if I go smaller, we can go like that, and it's going to get rid of that. Okay. It's not something I really want to do, so I'm going to go back here on your history. It's a nice thing on Lightroom is it's not deconstructive, so you can go back and make changes. So I can say, I really didn't want that spot removal thing going on. I can go in here. Another thing, you got these little circles that show up, and that's way, if that's like something I've done like 500 steps down here and I don't want to have to find it again or lose the things I've done up above, I can just click on these and I can change those settings. So if I wanted to, say this was an exposure setting, I could come in and fix that again later if I changed my mind on how I had done the adjustment there. So we're going to go back here. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to go over is these little tools right here. This one is a rectangular gradient tool, and this one is a radial gradient tool. They work similarly, except for this one is going to change your exposure or whatever adjustment you want to make down here and feather it out in a circular pattern. And this one's going to do it in a rectangular pattern. So I want to make my sky a little more dramatic, but I don't want to make the rest of my image darker. So I'm going to take the gradient filter tool here, and I'm going to go like this and kind of turn it around until I get it what way I want. And I'm having a tough time with it right now, but there we go. Okay, that's not straight, and you could make it at an angle if you wanted. I think on this I want it to be more straight, so I'm going to just grab my little hand tool there. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to bring it down here maybe just a tiny bit more. Okay, and then I could, even move here, like where I want it to start changing from, and maybe right here, since that's kind of where it's darkest in the clouds. And then I'm going to bring the exposure down, and see, it's going to make that a little more dramatic, and it's not going to darken up the rest of my image. It's just going to darken up that area here, and then just kind of feather it in to the rest of the image. So that's kind of a nice little tool you can do. The next thing that I think is really cool is this adjustment brush right here on the right hand corner. So I can use the adjustment brush to bring in light or darkness into any area of the image. It's kind of like you're in the darkroom when you would dodge or burn one of your images, and it's really kind of a fun tool. So I'm going to like zoom in a little bit. I think I'm going to go 2 to 1. So I want to bring some light into the temple here, and so I'm going to click on the adjustment brush, and then I'm going to bring my exposure up. Maybe start with 50 or around there. And then if you use your bracket keys, they're kind of a shortcut for making your any of your brush tools bigger or smaller. So I can go over this like this, and I'm going to just do this fairly quickly. And I'm going to just, kind of go over it and maybe bring it up a little bit. I can make my brush smaller so I'm not getting so much into the sky. Bring my thing here. Whoa, that got really big. And I could bring in a little more light here and here, and a little bit here. So then the other thing I can do to kind of clean that up is I can say down here, click on this little button that says Show Selected Mask Overlay. So I'm going to click on that, and you see it shows everything red. So I can see now that there's some spots that maybe I want to continue to brush. So, I didn't get like that quite as much, and I didn't really want as much there because I want to kind of feather that into the background there. Here I might want a little more, so we'll go like that. All right, and put a little more light into the Angel Moroni. All right, so you can see that's a little bit sloppy. And so you can come here where it says brush and you have A, and then I'm going to just click on erase. And so now if I go in here, I can clean that up, and I can make sure that no adjustment is being made in these areas. Okay. And I can even adjust like the feather on it to make it how it feathers out, or I can make it so it doesn't feather at all. It has a really straight line. Usually feathering is the best way to kind of do some of these things so it blends in nicer than a sharp edge. So let's kind of be really quick with this, just kind of give you the idea of how to do that. And then if I went too far, like I was like, oh whoops, I went too far, I just click back on the A, and it'll go back in here, and I can fix that. All right, so we're going to zoom out, and then I'm going to take off the select, I keep getting my library up, the selected overlay, and you can see that it's lightened up the temple. I didn't quite clean that up, so it's, it's not quite what I want there. I'll rework that a little bit more. One other thing you can do, and this is like really maybe, you know, being really picky, but I could say maybe it bothers me that it's a little bit hot right there. So I could go in here to like 4:1 maybe. Let's see. And I'm going to say new on this because I would want to use a new adjustment brush. And I'm going to bring that brush in. And this time I want to bring it down. I didn't want to bring highlights in. Oh, I didn't get the whole thing. So we're going to go back. And we're going to say brush. Okay. And I'm going to bring it down. And let's see, my tool is really small. Make it a little bit bigger so I can see it. And say I could bring in just really, like I say, just even really fine details of things you want to bring up. Okay, to get kind of make that not be so whatever. And like I said, I don't have to be super careful with it. I could go like this. Say, you know, maybe that's kind of getting where I want it to be. Yeah. And then the same thing, just bring in the mask, and then this time I'm going to say erase, and I can, you know, get in here even closer and erase that. You know, very, very carefully. I could go in and erase all of these things so that they're not going to be burned and dark, but just bring some color into that one area. And then, you know, I can see I went a little too far on some of them, so I can just, again, go back to the A, bring that in just really carefully with my mouse. Anyway, I think you probably get the idea on that. Let's go this way. And when you're done, you can go back to, you know, your library, and you can export the image to your hard drive, to the folder you're saving them in, to send them to your Flickr account for any changes you might have made to your images. Anyway, hope this helps. The video is maybe a little longer than I'd anticipated it to be. If you have any questions, like I said, call me and we'll talk. All right, thanks.